I know it's only 2014, but a year from now, we're already going to be neck deep in the buildup to the 2016 presidential election, and hopefuls already aligning themselves to try to get their party's nominations. Former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, Kentucky Senator Rand Paul, New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, and former Governor of Florida, Jeb Bush, all making headlines this week. Let's start with Hillary Clinton. She got a big endorsement this week from Caroline Kennedy, now the ambassador to Japan, who said she would back Clinton if Clinton decides to run for the White House. Kennedy's political power did help President Obama get the nomination and then the White House back in 2008, much to Hillary's chagrin. Could the second time be the charm? And what should we read out of the fact that Caroline Kennedy, who brought Teddy Kennedy with her into the Obama camp, and was a calling card for a lot of Democrats, oh, this guy is something to be taken seriously. What should we be reading into the fact that she's now behind Hillary Clinton?
I don't think the endorsement is nearly as important as it was when Obama ran. When Obama ran, the stamp from the Kennedys was the final stamp of approval that a minority candidate desperately needed. It gave him legitimacy to become the president of the United States. I mean, it's a decent endorsement, but Hillary's going to the White House anyway, and I say that objectively.
This is all plowing the road, right? This is clearing the field for Hillary. It's just trying to scare anybody else from getting into this race?
I don't think there's that much of a field. I think, you know, we're waiting for her to make a decision, and for many of us who are loyal Democrats and activists, and many who are not, there's a tremendous wellspring of support for her that the moment it gets to be the right time, we'll be there.
You want Hillary to be the Democratic nominee?
That's great for me. That's fine. I think ultimately Republican win. I think you get if Chris Christie can improve his ratings and get over this Bridgegate, that'll be fine. But I think a Jeb Bush, Condoleezza Rice ticket will go all the way. Condoleezza Rice to combat the foreign policy experience that Jeb Bush lacks.
I got all this left in this 2016 segment, Mr. Jumping the Gun.
I've already done it.
Oh, by the way, New Jersey Governor Chris Christie says Bridgegate's not going to get in the way of his possible presidential run, and some people are agreeing. Political analyst Sean Trendy thinks that Christie still has a shot, and he says what this scandal has done is remove more or less the bipartisan support for Christie that emerged in the wake of Hurricane Sandy, but that was mostly inevitable. He goes on to say, we saw this happen to John McCain once he became the face of the GOP. We're seeing it happen to Hillary Clinton today. Others say Christie once stood out as the frontrunner, but his campaign is now on life support. His numbers nationally haven't been hit that hard as a result of Bridgegate, and his numbers are still 50% in New Jersey. Have we written his obituary too fast?
No, absolutely. His numbers have moved the most among Democrats in terms of negative. But among independents and Republicans, they're still pretty much the same, which means that this Bridgegate hasn't hurt him the way the liberal media has wanted it to hurt him. But at the end of the day, the U.S. Attorney's Office in New Jersey is still investigating this matter, and until he gets a letter that clears him.
I have to stop you. Dominic's laughing.
No, the reason
there's
I'm
something
laughing,
good coming here.
This man is an expert. But when they start saying liberal media, that's the key word for our guy is the Walking Dead, and so now we're at the point we got to blame the media. Chris Christie is on life support, presidential campaign finito. He's already spent almost $500,000 on legal fees. It's a wrap.
You know, a lot of people say if Chris Christie is suffering as a result of being the sort of moderate, a lot of Republican experts have been looking at Jeb Bush as being a guy who could fill that role. He said he is considering a presidential run. Does he have the shot? We've asked this before, but I'm convinced that his last name makes it impossible for him to be the nominee or to win the election in 2016.
I think people, especially among Republicans, which really this will be, know that there's a difference between Jeb Bush and George Bush and George Bush Sr. Okay, and he has his own record to stand on, being the governor of Florida. He has his own family, which is very diverse. So this is a new type of Bush. And like I said, with a Condoleezza Rice, who has a foreign experience, it's a great ticket right there. I'm calling it right here on this show.
Because you missed the beginning about the income inequality, and that is going to be the driving force for Democrats to win again.
I was here in spirit.
I know. We always miss that President Obama won 2 times. And he didn't win once. It wasn't a fluke. He won 2 times. And there's going to be a continued emphasis on talking about income inequality and how we best handle that. And a Democrat will definitely take the presidency again.
Jeb Bush, Mr. Bush, if he could get the nomination, and that's a huge question, he's the only Republican, the only one that has a shot at beating Hillary Clinton.
I don't know if you saw the story in the Times today, but Rand Paul sort of got the love tap treatment from the Times today, straying away from the predictable campaign, taking a different approach. He's reaching out to wealthy libertarian donors, apparently there's a lot of them, seeking out to those who usually give to nonprofit organizations and not to political campaigns. The Times saying Mr. Paul is also navigating his own relationship with libertarianism, a philosophy he today describes as one of several influences on his thinking, which is a very nice way of saying he's backpedaling from some of the more outrageous things like, I don't know about the Civil Rights Act. Having said all that, he seems to have more of a sustained buzz from anybody on the right or anybody in the GOP that I've seen. Is he a potential nominee for the Republican Party?
Look, there's still a long way to go with that, and I think he's keeping himself and his name relevant the way he can, and good job for him. But I think that's
he's
as
got
far
his
as it
dad's
goes.
email list of all those guys. Ron Paul is Mr. Internet.
Yeah, how'd that
Dom-
work?
It's
no,
not
no?
going to happen. He doesn't have a chance at all. Look at what he did at Howard University when he went there with the kids. All the Democrats will do is play that appearance over and over and over. He couldn't even take the battle with Chris Christie. Remember when he started whining, oh, the governor of New Jersey is attacking me. He can't take the heat.
He supports the legalization of marijuana. He wants to pull back the U.S. role internationally. These are things that appeal to some people on the left, and he might actually be able to get some cross-party support.
How do you get out of a Republican primary with that position? I don't understand. That's no way.
You don't.
Exactly.
I
Dead on
think
the
the
arrival.
Republican Party cannot withstand having him as their candidate. It just would be,
Fractious?
no, they just want it. It's not in their interest, in my
I
opinion.
get 20 seconds. Any other Democrats besides Hillary? Anybody?
What,
Why do you
former
make it
Senator
sound
Biden.
like that?
I'm just
Because he doesn't. Never mind.
we like to see it.
We
Senator-
have-
so-
we
Former
have-
Senator
Everyone should be
Biden.
keeping
Senator
an eye.
Biden. Well, I
No,
think-
we have an outstanding, fabulous person to run for president. So, I mean, there's a lot of other good
It's
candidates.
April
I don't know,
2014. That can't
Benghazi.
be over already. We're going to wrap up our.
We still haven't arrested anybody in Benghazi.